This is a map of the central part of Europe. And the point here is that the fragmentation of authority, the breakup of many areas of Central Europe, the old Holy Roman Empire that had been created by Charlemagne back in the year 800, by the Ottonians in the Middle Ages. Here is this large chunk of territory. It has lots of cultural and linguistic integrity, but it's broken into lots of different kinds of religions and different political jurisdictions. The Holy Roman Empire is broken down at this point by close to 300 different entities and parts. And one of the key issues here is that during the settlements of the 16th century, the fights between the Lutherans and the Roman Catholics in Germany had sort of come to a rough equilibrium. But then later on, the challenges of other religious groups, including Calvinism, create even more religious controversy, where essentially the idea is whoever the prince is gets to decide the religion, and that the people will follow the prince in that religion. That is a very simple way of trying to create and simplify religious diversity, but of course it doesn't respect the individual religious values of each person. Essentially, your faith is attached to your prince. But in this case, by 1618, there is a very huge divergence of religious belief and religious systems, and in this part of the Holy Roman Empire, there is a huge divergence between various kinds of Roman Catholic Christians, okay, and a lot of other religious groups. This is also the home area of John Huss, who had been one of the early religious thinkers about offering the Mass in the vernacular language, in Czech in that case, and he had, of course, been killed. But what I want you to think about here is that there's this huge religious diversity. It has not been overcome. There is significant elements of political and religious here. And when a religious war breaks out in 1618, it appears as if this is a war of Roman Catholic versus Protestant. But as you read in your text, you'll see that this 30 Years' War is going to be very unsettling. Okay? The old idea that we're going to have, your own kind of religion in your own place, the Peace of Augsburg it was called, that you're going to, have religious settlements politically aligned. Okay? Those are going to start to go away. Different dynasties, different royal families of different kinds are dividing amongst themselves by religious faith over time. Maybe that the father's born Roman Catholic, practices Roman Catholic Christianity, but maybe the nephew or the son who takes over after his death might convert to another faith. It really complicates issues in Germany. Okay? It appears as if the war starting in 1618, the 30 Years' War, is essentially going to be Roman Catholic versus Protestant. We've seen that before. It's not new to Europe, but what is going to happen is that it's going to totally transform Europe. This knockdown, drag-out 30-year war, which goes through a series of phases, is eventually going to lead to the sort of realignment of power in Europe. And here's what we want to take away from this, okay? The war goes through a series of stages. At one point, Denmark is the sort of Protestant hero. Then the Swedes come in as sort of the Protestant hero in this Catholic versus Protestant fight. There's other phases of the war. I will leave it to your reading to take a look at how it goes. But here's the outline. Here's the outcome of what we really want to focus on. This 30 Years' War essentially is going to expose that the Holy Roman Empire and Spain are kind of spent forces, militarily and economically not able to keep up with the rest of the people in Europe, relatively impoverished. In some places in the Holy Roman Empire, this war that takes 30 years is going to see the destruction of massive amounts of towns and villages, bridges, port facilities, city walls. The population is going to go down, economic productivity will go down. The Holy Roman Emperor, which used to be a very important position, is increasingly sort of an empty title. Yes, I control a piece of territory, but in name only. And the military power that used to be the Holy Roman Empire is increasingly weakened. The other big loser in the war is Spain. Spain is sort of revealed to be an empty shell. It has massive inflation problems. Its government goes into bankruptcy on several occasions. It's not able to maintain its integrity and its control over various places. They lost control of the Netherlands. They're increasingly losing control of their other areas and battling to hang on to their overseas empire. What's also interesting, though, is that there's an emergence of some new powers in Europe. France is increasingly getting power. Cardinal Richelieu, who's the major leader who will be leading the Roman Catholic Church, but also the servant of the French king, will increasingly take a look and see that he's actually at war not with religion, but with the royal family. By this time and period, the Habsburg family is in control of both Spain and of the Holy Roman Empire. France is in between. And while each of these nations is Roman Catholic and predominantly Roman Catholic, Cardinal Richelieu makes a very complex decision to, in many ways, fund Sweden. Sweden is an aggressive military power. King Gustavus Adolphus is the leader of the Swedish army. He is very powerful. The Swedes are extremely well organized. They're very well equipped, and they are very successful in war. Gustavus Adolphus is one of the key military leaders, the key Protestant military leader of the time. He eventually will be killed in battle at a battle called the Battle of Lutzen. But nonetheless, the French are going to continue to take their money and back the Swedes, because in a sense, the French are enemies of both the Holy Roman Empire and Spain. And since Sweden is fighting them both, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So Cardinal Richelieu and the French will increasingly, as Roman Catholic powers, be giving money to the Swedes to fight other Roman Catholics. So now, this whole idea that this was a religious war is now being converted into other things. It's not simple like that. It's not just Roman Catholic versus Protestant. It's getting more complex than that as politicians take a look at what's best for the country. Also, what's starting to emerge is the power of a small Eastern European place called Prussia. It is a small principality. It's involving itself deeper and deeper in different aspects of the war, and through warfare and some judicious marriages and some success in military means, it is a power on the rise, and in the next couple of generations become a major military power and economic power in Central Europe. Take a look at the 30 Years' War. Take a look at some of the ideas of the different phases of it, but recognize that the key issue is that it starts as what looks like yet another Protestant versus Catholic religious war, but by 1648 and the Peace of Westphalia, the war ends as an idea of what's best for the state, and religion is seen as secondary to other considerations like economics and long-term stability. Take a look at your reading and also see if there's some sample questions to assist you.